Before Andrei Sakharov became one of the Soviet Union's most outspoken dissidents, he was celebrated as one of its greatest scientific minds. In the early stages of the Cold War, he was devoted to the department of thermonuclear weapons, convinced that contributing to national defense was both a necessity and something quite patriotic. Working within the research centers of the Soviet nuclear program, Sakharov helped shape the theories that would make the USSR's hydrogen bomb possible. This included working on designs that would lead to the most terrifying weapon ever tested, the Tsar Bomba. The Tsar Bomba was devised through what physicists described as a layer cake design, stacking fission and fusion stages in carefully arranged layers that amplified the explosion step by step. Like a tiered cake, each layer was dependent on the one beneath it, creating a cascading reaction that pushed the weapon's destructive power to an unprecedented scale. This weapon was detonated on October 30, 1961, over the Arctic archipelago of Novaya Zemlya. The bomba produced a shockwave that circled the planet and a mushroom cloud that rose up to the stratosphere, being hailed as a triumph of Soviet power and a scientific achievement. For Sakharov, however, the explosion marked something much more concerning. As one of the physicists closest to its design, he couldn't ignore the scale of destruction or environmental impact this weapon could lead to. Even before the test, Sakharov had begun calculating the effects of atmospheric radiation, especially the long-term consequence of carbon-14 that would linger long after the blast faded. His estimates were grim. Fallout from continuous testing could accumulate in the biosphere and cause irreparable genetic damage and cancer that could persist for generations. This realization deeply unsettled him, and what had once felt like a patriotic discovery was slowly morphing into a moral burden. After the Tsar Bomba, Sakharov became an outspoken critic of further atmospheric nuclear testing, warning that the major damage that would come to both the environment and human life could not simply be justified by militaristic goals. His concern continued growing outward toward ecological protection, arms control, and intellectual freedom, among other things. What started off as technical dissent grew into a moral opposition and eventually evolved into full political resistance. Sakharov wrote that scientific responsibility demanded more than innovation. For him, it required the courage to confront the consequences of his own creations. His journey from nuclear physicist to dissident wasn't a rejection of science. Rather, it was an insistence that science should serve humanity, not endanger it. It was a response to witnessing an explosion so vast it shattered windows hundreds of miles away, sending a shockwave around the Earth itself. The Tsar Bomba's power was global, yet its most important fracture was within Sakharov's own beliefs. His story reminds us that lasting security doesn't stem from creating the strongest weapons. Rather, it comes from creating stronger commitments to peace.